congratulations on Scrap. Vivian, this is just a very deep and insightful film. Where did you get the idea from?
Well, thank you, Tony. That's so nice of you. I got the idea. I've always loved movies about siblings,
Mm.
and I'm very close with my older sister, and I always wanted to do a movie about a sibling relationship. And I never really came up with a storyline that I thought was compelling and worthy of a feature. And then my neighborhood in Hollywood had sort of changed a lot. That suddenly there were a lot more people who were sleeping in tents, sleeping in RVs and cars. And I sort of was just noticing them every single day and thinking about you know, how difficult their lives are and wondering like how this even started for them. Like what was even the beginning of this
Mm.
kind of slippery slope into like how do you go from like sort of living your life and then cut to you sleeping in your car? Like how does that happen? Um, and obviously like we've seen movies where you sort of see someone who's schizophrenic, you see someone who, is addicted to drugs, but if it's someone who like it's not either of those, like how does this happen? So I was really interested in maybe writing a movie about like an every woman who was more middle class, who was just at the very beginning of experiencing like that. um and I thought that would be something that the audience might relate to a little bit more. So that kind of coupled with the idea of a movie about siblings were that was sort of the genesis of it.
There's a saying that says we're all about one, maybe two paychecks away from being homeless, and I think that's really more true than it isn't.
Yeah, I mean, I know that there's all kinds of like surveys and statistics that people do about like how much savings the average American has, and it's much less than we're supposed to have, right? We're supposed to have like 6 months of savings or something, but I mean, really, the average person doesn't. So it's true. I think most people are, 2 or 3 months, something like that, away from eviction.
Mm.
So in the movie, my character's been laid off. It's not, she
No.
didn't do anything wrong. She just got laid off. I mean, arguably, she she has maybe a spending problem, but maybe and she probably could have had some savings, maybe. But she didn't do anything really to like deserve that. So she's really scrambling, and she's obviously not someone who is like even well equipped to deal with kind of financial things. So um yeah, that was sort of what I wanted to explore.
You are working with some absolutely brilliant people, and I want to first talk about the first film, which is the short version of Scrap. Martha Hackett, Peter Bill, I mean John Billingsley in that.
Yeah.
Brilliant, brilliant actors, and Anthony Rapp, of course, who is just amazing. Do you have a long friendship with Tony?
No. So like all these people were sort of just um like I mean it's funny like Martha she was someone who I think I just had like an acting class with. I mean, it was like, and I was just sort of like going up to them when I was making the short, because they were all such amazing actors. Um, Anthony and I didn't know each other at all, and I knew by the time we were making the short that it was going to be a proof of concept for the feature. So we just sent it to his reps, and with sort of an explanation of like, this is going to be turned into a feature. This is really a proof of concept for that. The feature is going to be about these two siblings, and Anthony is essentially going to be like the male lead in the feature. So I think that they were more inclined to consider it, because normally it's like actors are like, I'm not going to do this short, like what is this? So we just got lucky that it worked with his schedule, he was willing to do it. And then I think he had a nice time on the short, and I think we found a sibling dynamic on the short um that I was excited about and wanted to expand into a feature. And I told him on set, this is going to be a feature. And I think he was like, yeah, okay, and then I wrote it and sent it to him, and was lucky enough that he wanted to do the full feature as well.
Yeah, well, I mean that not only is luck, but it speaks to your writing as well to be able to have somebody that interested in doing it. And your scenes with Anthony are just amazing. I mean, the reason I asked you, had you known him for a long time, because you have that kind of chemistry that comes from knowing somebody for a long time.
Thank you. I mean, I think we both work in the same way. Like we both come from theater. Obviously, like he's had this incredible career on Broadway, but I got my undergraduate degree in theater as well, and so I think we both have the same instincts on like how we want to work, how we want to approach a scene. Um, like for example, sometimes you'll work on film with actors who would like to kind of do things in like piecemeal, like sort of chop things up, or um, as they're shooting, not that there's anything wrong with this, but like as they're doing a scene, they might stop themselves and almost like rewind the scene and continue like with the camera still rolling. Um, and sometimes that's valuable too. I'm not saying, I would never do that or don't do that, but the fun of it was like he was totally interested in playing a scene start to finish. So we could put the camera across the room in a wide and do like a 5-page scene start to finish, just play it through. We did that in the scene when I first come to the house in the living room. We did that in the scene later when we have this fight in the kitchen. Like anytime we had a longer scene, like he was always happy to do that. And even in our close-ups, like keep playing things through. We like he found this theatrical momentum, I guess, that you feel like on a stage. And I like that as well. So it was very playful. And we were also, I think, just on the same page with like what we wanted to explore. We wanted to make this relationship, he has siblings as well. We both were very committed to making it feel as real as possible.
Yeah, as an audience, not as a film critic or an interviewer, I felt like in moments I was watching a theatrical play, and that is such a beautiful feeling to feel the real in a scene.
Yeah, I mean, I love theater. I still love it. Obviously I didn't get to see it or do any of it during COVID, but I I love it. I think it's so incredible. And one of the things that I do love about theater so much are these like longer scenes where people can just talk, right? Like normal people do. So it was fun in Scrap to have, we'd have sort of faster scenes where it's like Beth or the chaos of like the car or the city in Los Angeles. And then we could land, in Ben's house and just have a scene in the kitchen that was like 5 minutes long. That's I love that kind of pacing for the film was really important to me, really fun to
People
explore.
tell me never to film in LA. Is that true?
It's true. It's correct. Yeah, that is correct.
There's always somebody with their hand out, saying, "Oh,
That
by the
is correct. Oh yeah, there was a scene where we were shooting on the street and one of the houses, a guy was on the porch and was like playing a boombox, and we had to have like somebody go over and ask him like several times to please turn the music off. And I think finally we might have had to bribe him, I can't remember, but eventually the music got turned off.
wow, wow." Uh,
Yeah, that's the fun
be-
of LA.
Being an actress, does that help in your directing? I mean, are you more empathetic
I
to?
hope so. I mean, the other actors, would have to tell you, but I think so. I understand. I think I understand what actors need, and I try to be the kind of director that I want.
Hmm.
I don't like working with people who are like super wishy-washy, don't know what they want. Um, but at the same time, sometimes I don't like it if a director is like over noting, like kind of just giving notes just to hear themselves talk, or just giving notes that don't make any sense. I'm like, I don't like that. So if things are going well, as an actor, I kind of like to just be left alone to continue to explore. Um, and yeah, I sort of just do my best to be the kind of director that I want as an actor.
Hmm.
Which I think sometimes, like, if honestly, it is true what they say, like, casting is all of it. So, like, when you have actors like Anthony, Lana Parrilla, Beth Dover, Cleo Thomas, like they don't need me. You know what I mean? Like, other than they don't really need me. Like they know what's going on in terms of like their performances. So really you're just casting incredible actors and then you're just a resource to answer any questions they have and make sure we're all on the same page with backstory and tone and what we're going for. And then you're just sort of creating the shot list and like organizing the setups in a way that makes sense for their performance. Like for certain scenes, like it makes sense for an actor. I don't know, like for example, if it was like an emotional scene, like sometimes I think it's cruel to be like, let's start with the extreme close up. It's like, I don't know, that's a conversation you should have with your actor, right? Like, um, first of all, there's no reason to do that. Second of all, if the actor for some reason really is like, look, I'm ready and I want to do that. Okay. But for the most part, you'd be like, no, we're going to start with the wide and then we're going to keep moving in. Anyway.
Well, you're a conductor of a human orchestra, and you've got to be able to know how each one of those instruments is going to, react and act together. Uh,
Yeah, I think, and to what you sort of asking about empathy, I do think that is important. And I think like I do remember when Anthony and Lana were doing the scene in the parking lot after they leave the doctor's office. I do remember like crying a little bit as behind the camera as they were working, because what they were, even though their characters were not crying in the scene, but it was such a like, I knew it was such a crucial moment, and they were kind of, their characters were like in such pain, and yeah, it was like weirdly emotional for me to watch them. So I think just naturally, whatever natural empathy I have as an actor does, I think, carry over into my directing.
But it seems to me that you also have the ability, some directors and writers do, they have a stranglehold on everything that they've written and or every shot. And you're allowing your actors to be themselves, to actually explore the characters by maybe going off script and finding a deeper meaning to your words.
Yeah. Although sometimes, you can't let the inmates run the asylum. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes, sometimes you got to be like, there are moments. I mean, like, I think, yeah, sometimes, there are I mean, none of them were like this, but like sometimes, there's actors who like push a little bit, or, want to change something that you're like, no, I chose that word for a reason. And like, there's a nice way to do it, but I think, yeah, and if an actor does have like an idea for a line or like something they want to change, it's worth a discussion. But ultimately, as the writer director, um, what I say goes. No, I'm just
There you
kidding.
go. Yeah.
But I think, like you don't want things to get crazy, because also we have to make our days, like we have to tell the story we're here to tell. So there's a couple things that were improvised, yeah, from the script, but nothing that was like so important to me that I felt like we can't deviate.
When audiences discover Scrap, what do you think they're going to take away from it?
I mean, I hope truly that it like becomes one of that group of movies that I so love, right? You Can Count on Me, the Kenneth Lonergan film, The Savages, The Skeleton Twins with Bill Hader and Kristen Wiig. I hope it becomes one of these like little gems that tell these sibling relationship stories. I hope people can see their own sibling relationship in Ben and Beth, and I hope people can also um, have a little empathy for sort of like their own maybe time periods in their life when they feel they are failing and kind of screwing things up, and have a little like more kindness for themselves. Like we're so hard on ourselves. I think part of Beth's struggle, and also maybe Ben's struggle, arguably, is like they're just so self-critical. They're so hard on themselves about like what they think they should have achieved versus where they're actually at in their lives. And yeah, maybe in general, I just hope people are like a little kinder to themselves.
Is it tough directing yourself?
I loved it, but I mean, I'd done it before on smaller projects. I don't know. I don't know if it's tough. I think maybe the first few days, I again, but it was more about like nervousness over the fact that I was taking on a whole feature. But then like once we were going, it was sort of like, well, no, it's just like a short that is longer in terms of the number of shoot days. I didn't find it difficult. I don't know if that's like hubris or whatever, but I don't watch playback of myself. So I just feel like instinctually I know when I feel like we've gotten enough stuff. So as an actor, I feel like I'm there to generate raw material. And then as the director, I'm sort of like, yeah, I feel like we've gotten enough of me. But also, if there's any, I had a great script supervisor named Carissa McQueen, who's wonderful. And she and I would have conversations about what I wanted to achieve in a scene. And sometimes she would come over after a couple takes and say, like, you had talked about maybe wanting a little bit of this. You've already kind of explored, A and B. Did you want to do one with a little more C just to have? And I'd be like, I did. I forgot about that. Yes, let's do one more take and I'll get a little more of C. Thanks, Carissa. It's like those kind of people, like a script supervisor like that, is a godsend to an actor director. So it's not that like I needed someone directing me, but to have someone who knows what I wanted because we've already talked it through and who can remind me when I'm sort of in the throes of it, not to miss a certain shade of something, that's worth its weight in gold.
I appreciate your time. I want to catch up with you when Seance is done. It sounds like a pretty interesting film too.
Yeah, couldn't be more different. It's yeah, it's an 1890s like gothic thriller. So it's not like scrap at all. But
It's perfect.
yeah, I'm finishing up post-production on that, and I'm hoping that we'll be doing festivals, having its world premiere in 2024.
Well, don't forget about me, and we'll catch up with each other again on that. But congratulations on Scrap. It
Thank
took me
you.
really, I got to say this, it took me uh, by storm. I wasn't expecting to feel what I felt when I watched this movie. You're such a great actress too. You're in the right business.
Oh, geez. Thank you. That's so nice of you. It's sort of embarrassing because I love Anthony's performance so much. Sometimes at festivals, I'll kind of skip the middle of the movie, come back, watch the end. And every time I watch the end with like his sort of look, kind of makes me tear up a little bit. I'm like, oh, he's so good. Like,
Well, I mean, he's Anthony Rapp. I mean, and he's
yeah,
an
he's
incredible human
okay.
being
Yeah.
too. One of the best read people I've ever met.
Yeah, he is a big reader. He really is.
Anyway, Vivian, thank you so much, and I'll try to catch up with you on social media or something, and I'll send you a copy of this interview when it's all edited and put together.
Yeah, please do. Thank you. It was so lovely meeting you, Tony.
Thank you, and have a great day.
You too. Have a good one.